and one specifically thing she said that was going to really impact white people. Jack up debt, print money to provide housing, and everyone pays 30% for housing.
Joe Rogan is unloading on Mamdani and city official C. Weaver, completely tearing into their housing plan. The comic fight commentator and podcast powerhouse says Mamdani's idea to pump money into New York housing feels wildly disconnected from real life. Now we're breaking down exactly what Rogan said and the political shockwaves it could send through Mamdani's future ambitions. As always, hit subscribe, buckle up, and let's jump in.
She wants to, kill real estate value. That's her idea. She wants to, literally, to make housing more affordable, she wants to kill real estate value.
It's an elastic good. You can't.
Well, it's moronic.
Oh, this woman.
Listen to this lady. Listen to this.
And she has like $1 million house?
Her mom does.
Oh.
Well,
in
of course.
which housing is owned by a collective. People are paying 40% of their income in order to live in their housing. If your income is zero, you pay zero. If your income is $500,000 a year, you're paying 30% of that. And the government is providing government is the sort of owner, or not even the owner. The government doesn't have to be the owner, but the government is what's making sure all of that sort of works in cash flow.
So that was C. Weaver in a sit-down interview, calmly outlining her approach to solving New York's housing crisis. She carefully walked through her ideas and framed them as bold solutions to a growing problem. But now get ready, because what comes next is the sharp, no-nonsense question a straight-talking host throws her way, and it forces her to confront the practical side of her proposals head-on.
How can the federal government afford to start subsidizing rental housing costs?
The federal government prints money. The federal government can provide.
Just by printing money.
Sure.
That's her idea. Print money. Federal government print money to provide housing, jack up interest rates, jack up debt.
At its core, this debate comes down to basic economics. When governments expand the money supply and inject massive funds into the economy, the value of currency weakens. Prices rise, purchasing power drops, and the very households these policies are supposed to help often end up feeling the most pressure. Housing becomes more expensive, construction costs climb, and wages struggle to keep pace. Weaver's plan revolves around creating new money to manage current debt, paired with a hopeful assumption that housing markets will stabilize over time. History shows those assumptions are risky. More often, the results include higher living costs, larger budget gaps, and bloated government systems that demand even more funding. The pattern repeats itself: loosen controls, spend heavily, and deal with the fallout later. Even well-intended policies can deliver outcomes that sharply contradict their goals.
Print money to provide housing, and everyone pays 30% for housing.
First of all, why are you talking to me in a hoodie? What mental illness is that? How dare you? First of all, you look like powder. You look like, first of all, get a blowout, throw some mascara. Are we professionals anymore? You're in a Costco hoodie and a t-shirt. What are we doing?
Well, you've seen they've confronted her about these ideas.
For some background, this clip of C. Weaver was recorded before her appointment by Mamdani. That's why she's dressed casually in a hoodie, speaking in a relaxed podcast environment rather than a formal press conference. The clothing and setting don't matter. What matters is the proposal she introduces next. Weaver suggests that people with no income would pay nothing for housing, while those earning around $500,000 per year would have their housing costs capped at 30% of income. On paper, it sounds compassionate. In practice, it raises serious economic questions. High earners would likely leave the system. Developers might hesitate to build if profits are limited, and government spending requirements could skyrocket. The burden would increasingly fall on a shrinking group of productive taxpayers, creating unsustainable pressure. Once real-world incentives come into play, the model becomes extremely difficult to maintain long-term.
But she didn't even know what she was saying. She was she was kind of...
We won't own it.
Her training was UCB. She's just improvising an idea. No, the government does that. She's not even making eye contact. Damn.
Well, a lot of these wokies, they come from rich families. They feel
Sure.
bad about being
Sure.
privileged.
Yeah.
And one specifically thing she said it was going to really impact white people.
What is fascinating about that is that because I think she believes she's coming from the moral high ground, I think this is what's really sort of, it is someone who I feel like is similar to you, and then I'm like, I was as liberal, I blue hair, you guys. Like,
yeah, I remember when you had blue hair.
I rescue pit bulls. Like, it doesn't get any more liberal than me.
It's hard to ignore how Weaver struggled when pushed to clearly defend these ideas. That's where Rogan's criticism really starts to hit home. The proposals feel driven more by emotion than practical design. The intentions may be sincere, even rooted in empathy, but good intentions alone don't make a policy workable. Economic fundamentals can't be bypassed. When decision-making leans too heavily on feelings rather than structure, the outcome is predictable. Inefficiencies grow, distortions spread, and unintended consequences hit the most vulnerable groups first. Weaver's framework centers on moral appeal, but pays limited attention to incentives, supply constraints, and market forces. Compassion without careful planning can easily become a weakness rather than a strength.
But the whole idea with being liberal is like, you had me at, we're not racist, everyone's equal.
Right.
But, diversity, but then it turns into diversity.
Communism.
Diversity, but not diversity of thought.
Right.
Right? The hypocrisy of it and I think that as comics, we're people who, I may not be an expert in politics, but I'm an expert on hypocrisy. When you grow up around alcoholics who say, I love you, and then their behaviors in Congress, you look for patterns of hypocrisy. That's just what we're wired to do. So it just started to just be like, hold on, we don't believe in gender, but we need a female president. You're like, huh? And then it's like, my body, my choice, unless it's a baby that needs a vaccine for hepatitis B.
Whitney Cummings nailed this contradiction during the discussion. She pointed out how these proposals seem emotionally satisfying, but structurally fragile. They create the appearance of action without proving real-world durability. It starts to resemble performative problem-solving, where signaling good intentions takes priority over delivering results. And this pattern mirrors Mamdani's broader political style. He's promoted sweeping ideas before free grocery stores, free buses, expansive public benefits, often without clearly explaining long-term funding or sustainability. These ideas sound exciting on the campaign trail, but become far more complicated under fiscal reality. Resources always come from somewhere. Costs get shifted, delayed, or absorbed elsewhere. Without addressing those trade-offs, compassionate policies can quickly drift into financial instability.
And the Democrats, I read these, 74% are for democratic socialism. Only 16% favor capitalism. Is this going to be a country that I don't recognize in 5 to 10 years if we don't have these two pillars? If we don't, where are the Democrats going with this? If Mamdani is the face of the Democrats on the East Coast and Katie Porter is the face on the West Coast, I don't know if that's great politically for that party.
Bill Maher was sounding the alarm about Mamdani long before he even gained serious political traction. At the time, many dismissed it as overblown or partisan criticism. Now Maher is doubling down. He's warning Democrats directly. If they make Mamdani the face of the party heading into 2028, they risk a political disaster. For Maher, this isn't about personality or charm. It's about ideology. Policies that appear radical, unrealistic, or disconnected from everyday life don't just irritate conservatives. They scare moderates, independents, and working-class voters, the very groups that decide elections. His message is blunt. Voters want competence, stability, and results, not political experiments. Ignore that, and he predicts one of the most devastating electoral defeats in modern history.
New York is New York. It's definitely the media capital, the financial capital. It is a bellwether like no other city is in this country. So don't tell me that who the mayor of New York is doesn't matter.
Let me play devil's advocate for a second. Do you think, let's say, on the seize the means of production, do you think that the mayor, that one person, if he is a democratic socialist, do you think that he would have power and influence to be able to, usher in socialism?
He definitely has the power and influence to elect J.D. Vance or whoever is the Republican candidate next time. It is a walking commercial for the Republican Party.
Maher's warning highlights why Mamdani is such a political risk for Democrats. He has charisma, confidence, and surface-level appeal that could carry him into a presidential spotlight. That makes him especially dangerous. Maher has seen this before. He raised similar concerns with Kamala Harris, warning that style without substance and ideology without realism eventually collapses. Now he's applying that same critique to Mamdani, only louder. The problem isn't charm, it's policy. Mamdani's agenda flirts openly with socialist principles, and history offers clear lessons. Again and again, socialist experiments promise equality, but deliver scarcity. They claim to uplift everyone, but instead concentrate power and wealth while shrinking opportunity. Rhetoric may win applause, but reality always collects the bill.
The other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, you know, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
Yeah. I think every 20 years or so.
Wait.
Every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can hack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
Here's the contradiction. Socialists once demanded unwavering faith in their ideology until reality kept proving them wrong. Now, the pitch is different. Just give us one more chance. History isn't convinced. The Soviet Union promised equality and collapsed. North Korea promised collective prosperity and produced mass repression. Venezuela, once wealthy, was hollowed out by centralized control and economic mismanagement. Every time, the messaging is hopeful and moral. And every time, the result is scarcity, corruption, and hardship. So when modern politicians recycle these ideas, they aren't asking for patience. They're asking voters to ignore decades of evidence and gamble everything on a recycled failure dressed in new branding.
Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess. So, yeah, when post-war labor government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Honorian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both. That's socialism.
Step back, and the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. On podcasts and campaign stages, these proposals sound compassionate, visionary, and bold. But under real-world economic pressure, they fall apart. Emotion replaces structure. Ideology overrides evidence. Rogan, Maher, and commentators like Whitney Cummings aren't attacking empathy. They're challenging fantasy policymaking. Housing won't be fixed by printing money, capping rents, or punishing productivity without consequences. Socialism keeps promising fairness, but repeatedly delivers inflation, shortages, and concentrated power. History has tested this model over and over, and the results never change. The danger isn't just the ideas, it's how confidently they're recycled despite overwhelming proof of failure. And when reality finally hits, it's never the politicians who pay first. It's everyday people. That wraps up today's video. If you found it insightful, smash that like button and subscribe for more.